Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the nerdiest competition ever created by the Language of Bromance team. In this corner, obsessed with Star Wars and anything with swords, Richard! And in this corner, obsessed with the Ninja Turtles and scared of anything from the ocean, Shawn! Brought to you as a Pod Bros exclusive in association with the LOB Army. Tonight's competition is a Language of Bromance Draft.
What's up, everybody? I'm Richard.
And I'm Shawn.
That was way too long, and I hate you for it. And so now we're going to speak the language of fomance because I didn't like the way that intro took so long.
Richard, we've kind of been tweaking since we've gotten to the old age of 300 episodes. We are doing these more on the threes. We used to do them on the 3s and 8s. Like, man, we should draft on this. And we looked, and we did a draft on that already.
Oh, my God. How often does that happen? Like, so many times.
For everyone I tell you about, and you're like, didn't we do that? I'm like, oh, yeah, we did. There's probably like 10 others where I'm like, oh, this is a great idea. Caveman draft. And I look, I'm like, oh, shit, we already did that.
Did we do a caveman draft?
No, but that wouldn't be a bad idea.
That wouldn't be a bad one. Like, pick your favorite caveman.
Yeah, I was thinking more like we did man cave drafts.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And we did 2 of those. But so we're kind of cutting back on these a little bit, but what we have going on today is our draft. It's the 54th time, Richard, that we've done a draft. And what we're going to do, which I am kind of excited about, you know, you go to those Comic Cons or those conventions, and there's always those celebrities there who you pay a certain amount of dollars to, and you get to get a photo op.
Yeah.
So, Richard, what we're drafting today...
And then you can be one of those people that stand, like, next to the booth and then snap a quick photo with your phone.
Oh, yeah.
You can be that guy.
You don't get a good picture, though. You get dirty looks on that one.
Yeah, you do.
But we are going to draft our $100 photo op celebrities or people that we want to draft. So, Richard, if you don't know, everybody should know what these are. This is our
I
draft.
don't know. Please tell me.
This is an NFL-style 7-round draft where we flip-flop picks back and forth. So whoever gets the first pick in the first round gets the first pick in the second round. And how we determine this is back in the day during draft 1, we flipped the penny to see who won. And I won. So odd drafts, I get the first pick. Even drafts, Richard gets the first pick. This is an even draft, Richard, so you get the first pick. So here we are. You get to pick who you'd want to stand next to for a $100 photo.
Do you even remember what the first draft was? Because you were like, oh, way back in the day, we flipped a penny.
Superhero draft, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because then I think the villain draft was number 2 or 3.
Yeah, yeah.
Zombie draft was a good one.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have to draft our drafts at some point.
Oh, my God.
Blah.
Haven't we done that already?
No, we've talked about it. We talked about drafting our episodes.
The Inception draft.
That's the episode we'll give to our kids when we die. Like, no, just listen to these 14.
All right. Pick number 1. Pick number 1's kind of hard.
There's lots of places you could go with it.
There is.
We said, this is living or dead. So this would be... if you said like, hey, I want to have this photo with this dead guy, it's not the actual dead guy, it'd be him alive.
I want to take a photo with a corpse of Tom Petty. That's sick. That's sick, Shawn. You're a
First
sick man.
Abraham Lincoln without the hat.
I want to no. I know it doesn't matter if he's dead, but I want a picture with his corpse.
If I rub his nose, will it turn different colors like a stone?
No, it just falls off. So first pick. First pick. I'm gonna go with somebody. I'm trying to think of somebody that I would want that is possibly on your list. Basically, my whole attempt is going to be to steal things from you throughout this entire draft.
Well, my strategy is I have 14 on my list, so I'm at least covered.
Well, I don't have that many. First pick, I'm going to go with Mark Hamill.
Nice. I don't think he's on my list because I figured you would take him, but I don't know if you've seen a lot of the pictures he does with people. They're always great.
Like, they are always great.
He looks like the kind of guy who likes to yuck it up with the fans.
I completely agree. Well, because okay, and I don't know if this is true with everybody that's on my list, but it's definitely true with people that are towards the top. I like hanging out with people that, or I would love to get a photo with celebrities that are kind of fans themselves. And I feel like Mark Hamill is definitely in that category.
I agree. I mean, especially when you think like he did Batman the Animated Series.
Well, not just the amazing voice work and acting he's done. Like, you know, I mean, he was Luke Skywalker, and yeah, he was the voice of Joker. But like, he knows so much. Like, he's a science fiction, like old school science fiction movie, like trivia nerd. Like, he knows, like, he watched old science fiction movies. He watched old science fiction serials. Like, he knows all that stuff. Like, he strikes me as a genuine fan. I was watching that. He's got a show, or he did it like a little web series where he would go and visit different collectors that collected toys and memorabilia and comics and shit like that. And he was genuine. Not only was he did he seem genuinely knowledgeable. I mean, you could attribute that maybe that, it's the show feeding him stuff, but he seemed like he knew what he was talking about when he's like, oh, this is from, this thing is from that thing, and this is from that, and oh, I remember that. I used to watch that. But like, he seems genuinely excited about that stuff.
Well, and the thing with these two, so I've only tried to do one photo op. It was the last Kansas City Comic Con you and I went.
And I said no.
Planet Comic Con we went to. And we got in line, and they're like, "Oh yeah," because we actually had to do a panel to help out. And when we got in line for it, it's like, "Oh yeah, we're capping it here. You're actually not going to be able to do this." And it was actually a free autograph, wasn't even a picture. But the one thing I would want out of these is, and I feel like Mark Hamill would be great at this. You want the person that, like, when you show up to get the picture, because it's awkward, right?
Yeah,
you're going up there.
Yeah.
You kind of feel like you're slutting yourself out. You're giving somebody like $100 to just take a picture with you.
Yeah, and maybe they'll write their name on it.
Maybe, yeah. And so you'd want somebody that when you go up to get that picture, they don't make you feel horrible as a human being. And I feel like Mark Hamill would be doing that because, I mean, obviously it's a very small time that you're spending with a person, right? Like maybe 30 seconds, maybe a minute, I talked back when I got my picture with the AEW championship belt, and that felt like you're just getting herded through. And with Mark Hamill, I feel like he'd be the kind of guy where even though it would be herding people through, I would feel like he would give you something. It may be the exact same thing for everybody that comes through that line.
But it's yours.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if it's Mark Hamill and, let's say they give you time for a costume change and stuff. So he's like, all right, you've paid me $100. What do you want me to dress up as? You want me as Luke Skywalker? Do you want me as a Joker?
I want him as old Luke.
Old Luke? Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah. Cause A, like, I like that look on him. And B, like, I feel like it suits where he's at, What
would your pose be?
Oh God.
That's the other thing you got to pick with this is what would your pose be?
Oh my God. Wouldn't it be great if like we did a shot where he's meditating and I'm meditating right next to him?
That'd be good.
Right?
I like that.
I like that one. where like we're both like meditating side by side, and then they could put like the twin suns behind us, like have like one of those like remember when you were a kid and you go to Sears Portrait Studio and they had all those backgrounds on like window shades that they'd fucking pull down.
I mean, that was back in the day where they didn't like they just like now it's just a green screen, you know,
like glamour shots,
post.
you know.
Oh,
and so
man.
like you just have a pull down shade of fucking the twin suns of Tatooine. I like that idea. That one just off the top of my head, but I like that idea.
I like that. Well, Richard, for my first round pick, I feel like I was not sure if this would be a good first round pick. I've already got 2 pictures with him. But if I was going to go somewhere, I was going to drop 100 bones down, I'd probably go with him. I won't bury the lead too much, but is one Kevin Smith. And the reasons for it is kind of what we explained with Mark Hamill. He's a super fan. I think when you go through, he would make you feel welcomed. He's really good about that. Even in the, you know, when I talked about meeting him outside of Reboot, it was like midnight.
Yeah.
You know, they're on the road and he was still cordial and like, you know, it definitely wasn't as cordial as I've seen him before, but the dude was probably super tired for driving hundreds of miles, thousands
100%.
of miles. But, you know, if it's a spot where he's coming in, probably fairly fresh, I feel like that moment would be great. You know, if I had my choice, I don't know. I'm feeling Mallrats. I'm feeling like him with his, you know, his big long coat.
That's okay. That's a good point. Like, let's say you could take a photo with Kevin at any given point in his life. Is there an ideal time frame in his storied arc that you would?
That's tough. I think Tusk. Because that would be because I feel
so
like
you want to meet
Tusk,
him at his lowest point. That's what you're saying?
Well, no, because Tusk was so inspirational to me. Well, his lowest point would have been like
the Too Fat to Fly shit.
Yeah, well, and then before that, Zach and Miri came out.
Oh yeah,
that's where he'd show up. He'd be like, "You got something just to kill me? Like I hate my life. I'll suck your dick for $200."
Well, I already gave 100 to the other guy.
But no, Tusk was like, he was huge into podcasting. It was a very inspirational thing to me.
True.
He may not have been at like his pinnacle of popularity like he is right now. So you might get a little bit more time with him. Because right now I feel like he's spanned so many generations that these type of things are pretty much sellouts for him. I don't know what he was the last time he was at Planet Comic Con, but it was definitely a couple $100. It was like $100 or $150 to get like a picture and stuff with him. And I think it was Jason Mewes too.
Okay.
But I feel like he would be the person too that like most people, when you do this, it's $100. You might get like a quick, you know, second or two chit chat with him. With Kevin, like you could go and be like, all right, this is going to be like 30 seconds. And it could be 5 minutes before you leave. You know, because I'm sure he'd comment on whatever shirt you're wearing. If you come in cosplay, I'm sure he would have something to say with that.
That's true.
You drop the quick, like, you know, it's exactly like our conversation was with him at Podcast Movement. You know, that was probably less than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But whenever we play it through our head, it felt like a half hour to an hour. And I feel like that's what this would be the most bang for your buck and the most like you'd walk out of that, get your picture, be like, oh my God, like that was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And it would like touch your soul deep down.
All right.
But yeah, my first round pick, probably pretty easy to call for me, but it would be with one Kevin Smith.
And ideally right after he released Tusk.
That's where I would go for, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to see him earlier, like in his early career, because I'm not saying that like, oh, he was a dickhead then and he's better now, but I would say that he was just judging from the way like Clerks and Mallrats and even Chasing Amy to a degree, just judging from the way those movies are written, I could definitely see him being a bit more acerbic when it comes to like dealing with the general public.
I think if you saw him kind of like post Mallrats, maybe even post Chasing Amy, I feel like you'd get a little bit more of like an annoyed vibe from him.
That's what I'm saying. Like a bit more barbed.
Yeah, like, oh, I'm kind of above this, but I'm here. And he's even kind of mentioned that too, like where if he could go back and tell younger Kevin one thing, it'd be like, just relax.
Yeah. Huh. Number two. You know what? Number two for me, it's number two's pretty easy for me. I gotta go with so we've been dealing with a lot of guys that have done things in comics and movies and stuff like that. I'm a flip script. I'm gonna go into music. Shawn, number two, I would pay $100 to get a photo with Dave Grohl.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet.
And in a way, it leans back to my number one in the sense that, like, I feel like he's just a genuine fan of music. Like he's a person that just seems genuine and gets genuinely excited about things.
So would you consider yourself, because whenever I think kind of like the people I pick through, I kind of towards the end of my list, not as much, but for the first few picks are definitely kind of people I consider myself like super fans of.
Mm-hmm. Would you like, you're saying, do I consider myself a Dave Grohl super fan?
Yeah, in a roundabout way. So the way I look, like if Dave Grohl was somewhere and it was like a happenstance situation, I'm like, oh shit, that's Dave Grohl. And it wasn't a weird enough situation. Like I might be like, hey, can I have can we get a picture together? Which really, and that's, I guess, talking in this vein, because in reality, if I saw him, I'd be more like, hey, can we have a 15-minute conversation and no picture? Because I feel like that would be a lot cooler.
Sure.
But like if it came down to it, like, would I go up to him to get a picture? And I think he'd be the kind of guy I would do that for, but I don't know if he'd be the kind of person I'd be like, well, I want to drop $100 to get a picture with you. Because yeah, it's a cool experience. If I ran into it, I'd take it, but I don't know if I would seek that out.
Yes. And the reason why is, like I said, like I feel like regardless of me paying $100 or not, I feel like I would probably feel the same way walking away from it. Like if I was standing at a bar and he just happened to be passing by, and I would say, "Oh my God, you're Dave fucking Grohl. Can I get a picture and can we talk for 30 seconds?" And he said yes, and then we did that, and he walked away. And then if I paid $100 somewhere at a concert, let's say, and I go and I take a picture and talk for 2 minutes, and he walks away, I would probably feel the exact same way, given both sets of circumstances.
Yeah, no, I get that. So what would your pose be?
Oh. I don't know if I'd want to just pose with him. Just maybe just like us just standing next to each other.
Yeah, holding the same drumstick.
Well, maybe, I mean, not even that, because I feel like I genuinely feel like the experience would be like I would need, like, I might need the picture to be like, oh shit, that happened, I forgot. But then I feel like once I went, oh shit, that happened, then I feel like the whole experience would come back into my memory without any sort of prompting.
So if you're not going to pick a specific pose, let's say like it's just back to back, quick picture, but that gives you more time to ask one question. What's the one question you're going to ask Dave Grohl?
Oh, that's hard. That is a hard thing to ask. Let's see. If I had one question, it would probably be,
what is a foo and why are you fighting it?
Why? Probably my question would be, where did he get the drive to sit and play and practice guitar or drums for hours and hours and hours and hours on end? You know, because like because he never had like official lessons, like he was self-taught when it came, like he's a self-taught drummer. I think he's also a self-taught guitar player.
Ooh, that'd be good. Like, how'd you push through the failure?
And then how do you, yeah, exactly. Like how do you push through the failure, and how do you, maintain like enthusiasm with no rudder? You know what I mean?
No, that's good. That'd be a good question.
You know, I've seen quotes of him that would say, you know, that where he bitches about shows like American Idol, where he's like, somebody has a dream that they want to be, a singer or they want to be a songwriter, and they go and they stand in front of 3 people and they spend, 90 seconds or 30 seconds like belting something out, and then those 3 people say, no, that's not good enough, and then you leave, and that's it. He's like, that's not the way this is supposed to work. He's like, you get your friends together and you go in your garage and you just sound like shit forever and ever and ever until you don't.
Yeah, I'm 100%. We've talked about this multiple times the last year. I think it was it Joe Rogan? I think was talking about it, but he's talking about essentially it's like, oh, like he was talking about comedians, and he's like, oh, like that guy sucks. That's how this works. You suck at first, and then you get better.
Yeah.
And in today's society, like you look at anything, it's like, oh, well, I can never do that. Well, it's like, well, yeah, they couldn't do that either. Yeah. I mean, there are people who are naturally talented, like when they come out of the womb, but that's super rare. But the majority of people suck at first, and then you get better.
I would say that almost everybody sucks at first. Vast majority.
Yeah, nobody comes out of the womb spitting awesome jokes. It takes time.
I mean, I did, but
yeah, I mean, this podcast, episode 1, was pure gold.
Fucking magical.
Yeah. God,
don't listen to it. Don't go listen to it.
No, I like that Dave Grohl, and that's a thing that's pretty. I don't know if they do it for theirs, but it's definitely more common for VIP experiences where you get pictures and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've with concerts and stuff and those VIP experiences. I feel it does. I mean, I've never actually done it, but I get the impression that it's a bit more intimate than standing in a line getting a photo.
The ones I've heard about aren't.
Yeah.
They're more just you stand in a line, you kind of walk through, you get a quick picture. It's a quick, 1 or 2, not even like a full minute, but definitely more of just kind of ushering you through.
Gotcha.
It's kind of like the reboot tour, the Kevin Smith pictures were basically like that. You got in a line at the end of the show.
Yeah.
And you kind of just walk through, got a quick picture, probably handshake, a hi, but that was about it.
Yeah.
But all right, for my second round pick, Richard, this was the person I was alluding to earlier. So at Planet Comic Con, we do a panel, we rock that panel. It's the best panel there, they said. I think it won like 17 or 18 awards.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're all sitting on my non-existent shelf.
Yeah, and unfortunately the audio failed, so we don't have it, but if we did, it would be like the number 1 thing in the world on the internet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would win. It would win everything forever.
All of that stuff was totally worth it because as we left, it's like, all right, Richard, let's go hang out in this line so I can get this comic signed by this guy who created one of my most favorite things in the whole wide world. And it was free too, Richard. I didn't even have to pay $100. I even think you got a picture for free if you want it on your cell phone.
Yeah, yeah.
We get in line. I'm like, is this the line for so-and-so? And they're like, yes, it is, but it's capped. Get the fuck out of here. Richard, that man was the co-creator of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Kevin Eastman.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was there. It was interesting to watch people because it's like when you tell a kid they can't have ice cream and you drive past the ice cream store and then they say, "Can I have ice cream?" and you say no, and you watch like their dream shatter and their face slowly crumble into undiluted sadness.
Yeah, I was a little pissy about it. I'm not gonna lie.
You were.
Because it's like our panel ended at like 2:30.
Yeah.
And the signing started at 3. And so we got there at like 10 till. And like, oh yeah, sorry, it's capped. And as I'm looking through the line, everybody had like the basically the what do they call those? Not the brochure.
Like
the
that.
Comic-Con handout, like just had stuff in it, like for the Comic-Con. And they had those to get signed. I'm like, you fucking posers. And I pull out my Kevin Eastman TNMT Leonardo number 6. I'm like, this is what I wanted signed, you sons of bitches.
He was salty.
Yeah, I don't think you would get a lot of, because Kevin Eastman isn't a very personable person from what I've seen.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he's had plenty of people like, oh my God, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is my life. He's like, all right, cool, dude. Like, I just drew this, when I was high one day with my buddy. But it would be.
Do you think he'd do that? Do you think he'd shatter someone's dreams like that?
No, I don't think so. Like, I think he really does like dig TMNT. I mean, it's made him a shit ton of money.
That's true.
But he joined back on with the when Nickelodeon started the comic books back up. He's been on that helping out, like co-creating it or co-writing it and stuff. So I think he still has a passion for this story. But I wouldn't like want to dig deep with him. And I might say like, dude, I like love this stuff. This is really great stuff. And more so the inspiration of being like, you created Mirage Studios out of a house off of this idea and grew this independent comic into this huge thing. Like, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And I think the pose I would want for this picture wouldn't be anything too crazy. It'd kind of be like the back-to-back arms crossed, maybe.
Okay.
So nothing too crazy.
So you want to be classy. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, this would be a good classy one.
Okay.
And it would be more the moment, like, this is, like, I saw him while we are there, but this would be one of those things, like, you get to cross paths with somebody to, for a tiny bit in their life, be like, you have, like, well, essentially, he's kind of set, like, what I live my moral compass by because of Leonardo, right?
Right.
So to be able to be like, hey, you've had a huge impact in my life, thank you, and then move on. It's kind of like when we went to Red Bank, we just recently past that year anniversary.
Yeah.
Going back and kind of reliving that stuff. It's like, I'm glad I did that because that's kind of a beacon of my life. And so this would be one of those kind of beacons thing I think would be awesome to, pin your aura to at some point. Your auras have crossed paths if you think of something big like that. So that would be my number 2 pick with Kevin Eastman.
Okay. All right. Number 3. The middle, my middle ones are would I pay $100? Yeah. But in this sense, I feel like I know what I'm getting. I feel like it's going to be like a quick 2 minutes. And the reason I say that with this pick is because I feel slightly intimidated by this person. Not intimidated in the sense of, like he's going to beat me up, but definitely in a sense of like, you're in the presence of a fucking movie star. Shawn, for my 3rd round pick, I'm gonna go with Robert Downey Jr.
Okay, none of these have been on my list yet.
Damn.
This one feels like kind of like I feel like you'd get like Iron Man. You'd get
Yeah. Well, see,
Tony
and that's
Stark.
the thing. It's like I would feel is Dave Grohl a rock star? Of course he is. Is Kevin Smith a director? Of course he is. But like Robert Downey Jr. is a fucking movie star. Like he's a legit movie star. And I'm not saying I'd fangirl over him. Like I didn't even read Iron Man when I was a kid, and like the movies were like really great, but just his personality and Iron Man aside, but just like the movies that he's done, like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, or like when he did Chaplin, like he's a fucking legit like actor, movie star. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, with your 3 picks too, though, the way you're looking at it, like the upside, I think is a lot bigger than mine because Kevin Smith, I think is you're going to get Kevin Smith.
Right.
Eastman could go either way, but with your 3 picks, it seems more like these are 3 guys who don't take themselves super serious.
Yeah.
So they would almost have fun with the whole situation.
Yes. Yeah, I would definitely agree with that there. I don't know. Again, I don't know what pose I would get. Probably maybe like a handshake kind of thing. Like just be like, look, I touched him.
I feel like my pose would be like you'd want to come in dressed like Iron Man, like fat Iron Man. And the pose is you doing something like super creative and him like giving you like the what the hell look. Like I feel like that'd be a fun picture you'd want posted someplace.
I feel like if you did something like that, people would automatically say it was photoshopped. They'd be like, that's probably not real. That's not fucking real. Why did you do that? Why did you sully the reputation of Robert Downey Jr. by sticking yourself in fucking a picture that he was in?
Well, I had a free trial of Photoshop. I had to do something with it.
I mean, Yeah, I mean, like I said, like I think that would just be. I mean, I feel like that would be a cool experience, and B, like I like there isn't really much like I feel like I can say other than I don't feel like I would fangirl over it, but at the same time, I would definitely feel intimidated by it.
I feel like with him too, like I could play out how it would go in my head. Like you show up and then Robert Downey Jr.'s voice be like, "Oh, hello, I'm Robert Downey Jr."
Yeah.
You know,
Hi, how are you? And then
yeah,
you're like,
how are you doing today? Do you have
what?
a specific pose you like to do today? You know, you ask a question like, "Oh man, I bet, woof, I'd shake your hand, but I don't want you to shoot me with your flux capacitor." Oh, damn it, wrong show.
I'm gonna go kill myself.
He's like, "Okay, whatever. I'm not listening."
Yeah. Next.
Hey, you charged him double, right?
No, I agree. I don't feel like he would be a dick, but I would definitely, regardless of his reaction, I would definitely feel nervous because it's fucking Robert Downey Jr. and he's an actor. Like he's a legit fucking like movie star. Like that's the only way I feel like I can put it. Like he's a movie star.
I think that, I mean, like if you're looking like, okay, here's the 7 people that I've done this with, that would be a good third one in your list.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So for my third round pick, Richard, I want to go, this will be the first lady on our list. This was a TV show that I would say honestly was the first show that I fell in love with growing up. Like if I had to go back and say, what was the first TV show that had you hooked into like the TV viewing experience, you know, the weekly, I guess almost binging now to this point, it would have been this person.
It's Big Bird, isn't it?
It's Big Bird. No. And I would probably say my first celebrity crush.
Oh.
She might have been number 2, but it was somebody else in the show that would have been number 1.
Okay.
No,
Linda from Sesame Street.
Linda from Sesame Street. No, Richard. I want to go. You know, Richard, in every generation, there's a chosen few. There's a chosen one. And I want to go with that chosen one, Richard. I want to go with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Good.
I had a huge crush on her as a 12-year-old, maybe 13.
I didn't even consider this because this was later in life for me.
Yeah, it's not somebody that I think the experience would be. The experience on this, I think the downside is a lot higher than the upside.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like, depending how the interactions go, depending on the mood, maybe, you could have a pretty bad personal experience. But she has posted some pictures recently where she was going on a run and she was reenacting some poses with wood she found that looked like a spike.
Really?
Steak. Yeah, which made me giggle on the inside. So if I had to choose like my pose with this too, it would be that, right? You'd have some kind of like Mr. Pointy type steak.
Yeah.
And she would be like trying to stab you in the heart with you dressed like a vampire. Again, this one I think would be like a quick, like you walk in, she might say hi, you tell her what you want to do, and you kind of like this is the one I feel really dirty about. Like you walk in, you put your $100 down, you're like,
I was gonna say I'm watching you right now, like kind of flounder, like, and then we do a pose, and I mean it would be like super tasteful or whatever.
Yeah.
But
be like, we could just do you just want to take the picture by yourself? I'll
like,
leave. Here's $300.
Like if you want, you can act like you're kissing me on the cheek. I mean, if that's too much, I'll just go.
Do you know that scene in Angel when? You know, he turned because you guys did. You did it. You had the sex.
Yeah,
you gave him took his soul away. I had your picture underneath my pillow. Oh God, I said too much.
I've jerked off to you so many times. Who was it? I think it was Carrie Fisher said she had somebody that told her that. She's like, I jerked off to Princess Leia so much when I was a kid.
She had mentioned in her book, the one that she published like right when she passed away, it came out. And in there somewhere, I think she talks about like at these experiences when people come up with posters or talk to her, like, I had your poster in my room. And her first thought is like, oh my God, you jerked off to me so many times, didn't you? Which, you know what? That photo shoot of Carrie Fisher when she's at the beach, good Lord, she's an attractive woman.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She was a lot of dudes' first love. Mine was Sarah Michelle Gellar.
So,
but I wouldn't tell her that I jerked off to her.
Even though I totally did. You know what, Shawn? You don't have to tell her. She knows.
Yeah. I think every person that comes up and they like, first thing they do is they reach out their hand. She's like, no, that's your sin hand.
Yeah. You just automatically want them to switch hands.
Yeah.
Like if I was Sarah Michelle Gellar and I'm sitting at a table and like people are like, hi, Sarah. And they reach out their hand and be like, other hand.
Yeah. Well, no, you show up and she's like, how old were you when the show first came out? You're like 13. She's like, yeah, I know what you did.
Yeah. How about a fist bump?
Let's just rub elbows. But my third pick, I don't think there'd be any questions I'd want to ask, but it would definitely be Sarah Michelle Gellar.
All right. My next pick is also a movie star, and not necessarily I wouldn't say he's my favorite movie star, and it's not I like him, but it's not necessarily for the work that he's done, but just his general attitude. Again, like hearkening back to the other to the other ones that I've picked. This is somebody I feel like I would want to have a 2-minute conversation with, on top of really, like, if I could lay down $100 and say, hey, can I talk to this person for 5 minutes? I don't even need a picture.
Yeah. If you get like all these people, well, not all these people, but if it's like $100 for a 15-minute conversation,
oh my God,
$100 for a photo, I would probably go the 15-minute conversations.
Yeah. Yeah. Keanu Reeves.
Do you think he'd be a really good conversationist, though?
Yes, I do. I genuinely do. And I think the reason that you're thinking he wouldn't be is because he strikes me as the type that is very soft-spoken and humble when dealing with a public kind of forum. But I feel like in a one-on-one, I could see him being way more giving and open.
Yeah, I know I haven't seen too many of his interviews, but the one that sticks out with me is when he was on, what's the chick that dances, the talk show host?
Ellen,
yeah. And that seemed very kind of awkward. And maybe that's because it was like on a stage kind of thing.
Yeah, you're sitting on a stage while talking to another famous person while surrounded, like it's almost, it's a very kind of like almost like a zoo kind of format.
I feel like with him too, and I feel like he's probably kind of like us, where maybe more me, but like the first time I meet somebody, I'm a little bit more soft spoken and I don't like reveal a lot.
Exactly.
But as I get to know people, that's when I open up. I kind of feel like that's how he would be. So like if you're instant, like 15 minutes to talk to him, you'd be like, hey, what's up? You're Keanu. He's like, yeah. So, how are you?
And if you're wondering what the conversation would be, what I would want to have the conversation be about, topic wise, I would probably ask him about his current level of celebrity, because like you go on the internet and he's the literal golden child of the internet, and that's rare. It's rare to see a famous person on the internet that is as universally respected and liked as him.
I mean, Downey Jr. is kind of in that boat too. I mean, he had a checkered past, but you don't really hear anything about him now. Yeah, because the way we've talked about Keanu Reeves this way before, he's kind of like that old style Hollywood star. Yeah, where very little about their personal life, and they're just kind of, I don't know if Hollywood protects them or just they don't expose enough because like he's not on any socials, he's not on anything like that. He's very private. Besides what he puts out there as a movie star,
right? That's true. But I would say that doing that doesn't necessarily keep the ire of the internet away from you. And so, when when you, I mean, like Reddit praises the man, so and they shit on everybody. So I guess I would be like, does it like, what is it like, or how does it feel to be as universally liked and respected as you do, especially considering the fact that that wasn't always the case. Like, he was the quintessential fucking dumb guy.
Yeah, that's true.
For years. Like, I made fun of him. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I wouldn't sell that to his face after I hand him $100.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it really wasn't until what?
I'd say probably
2010? Because even Matrix people are still making fun of him.
Yeah.
What would your pose be?
Ooh, I could punch him in the stomach, and I could have him like falling back.
Oh yeah. What about he punches you in the stomach?
No, I got to punch him in the stomach.
Well, I mean, that's like $600.
That way it looks like I came out on top.
I like that. Well, Richard, for my 4th round pick, I'm kind of surprised you haven't picked this one yet. I was kind of nervous you're going to get him sooner before I did, but this is a guy who, whenever you see his Comic-Con pictures with people, they're always like, you're like, oh my God, like that would just be hilarious. And I would never take that off as my profile picture ever.
Yeah.
He's a big guy, Richard, cut from God's own marble. We hate him.
I was saving that for the end.
Well, I'm not, Richard. I am going to take Jason Momoa. Yeah. Now, I don't think there's anything I'd really want to ask him. I feel like he would be super energetic to see people. If not, at least on the picture, he would look like he would.
I would hand him a picture of my wife and say, you don't need a picture with me, but never take a picture with this person and you can have my money. If I could do my picture, what they do a lot of times is you'll see like him with his hand on the boyfriend and like hugging the girlfriend or the wife. Yeah.
I'd want it reversed. I'd want him holding my wife back and hugging me.
Of course,
because Richard, I would marry that man. I'm pretty masculine.
That is quintessential you.
Yeah. That dude is ridiculous. He's funny. He could put me in a good workout. And even that commercial. You just saw the Super Bowl commercial. It was a great commercial.
It was. You're right.
But I don't know. I would like to kind of talk more about his Aquaman stuff, honestly, if we had a little bit of time to chit chat, because he seems like he was all in on that. And I feel like he kind of got the shaft on a lot of it.
Well, I think that, I mean, how well did that movie do?
Aquaman did pretty well.
I mean, I know it did decently well, but did it do? I know it did well, but did it do as well as they wanted it to do?
It did good enough that I thought they greenlit a sequel.
Oh yeah, that's true.
No, yeah, it made over $1 billion.
Okay. So yeah, I get what you're saying. Well, I think it's here. The problem is it's so easy to shaft Aquaman. You know what I mean? Like it's so easy to just like be like, oh, the guy that talks to fucking fish. Like, fuck that guy. But he
changed it though. I mean, you seen the change in the comic? It's kind of like Iron Man. Iron Man was like, oh, this is kind of a cool comic, but Robert Downey Jr. made it a thing. Jason Momoa made Aquaman a thing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
But like he was the dude that like put his stake in like the DC MCU war. Like he was signing stuff like FMCU and like we're gonna come for him. We're DC.
Yeah.
And then Justice League came out and it's like
he was trying to be a fanboy. Well, wait, did Aquaman came out after Justice League, right?
Yeah. But when Justice League, before it came out, he was already signing stuff like
oh yeah, true.
DC over MCU kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then they're like, we're filming Wonder Woman and Aquaman. And then Justice League comes out and they're like, they're still coming out.
You're still coming, right? to the movie.
God. And then Wonder Woman 84 is about to come out soon too. So I don't know what the hell they're going to do with that.
Well, I mean, as far as DC movies go, I would say Wonder Woman has the best shot of making it.
Yeah, but I think they're kind of like cutting that whole continuity out. Like they're just making them their own thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, my 4th round pick, me getting hugged by Jason Momoa, him putting my wife in his hand, pushing her away. That picture is replacing our wedding picture. Jason Momoa, my 4th round pick.
All right. Number 5. You know what? This one's just for me, just because, like, an artist that made me fall in love with music. I really don't know what kind of conversation I would have with the man. And again, I would feel super intimidated. This would be an instance where I would just want to get a quick picture and then get out. Just to say, hey, I have this picture, and it would be Ozzy Osbourne.
That's what I figured. This would be like your Eastman for me.
Like, yeah, just a quick I don't know how it would go, but you would just want it just to have it.
Yeah, no, I get that. Like, you wouldn't want to try to be like, hey, here's a bat. Let's take a picture with this.
Exactly. Like, you don't want to be that guy. Like, no.
And honestly, like, what's the conversation even going to be like with him? Like, I don't feel like he's very, like, even I've listened to
he's not. It doesn't feel like much of a chatty Cathy.
No, yeah. I've listened to other rock stars who talk about meeting him and then like seeing him days later, and he doesn't remember who they are,
right?
Because he just seems like the kind. Not that he's like, oh, I'm better than you, just more, and not that he's like forgetful. It's just like, well, yeah, we crossed paths. I don't know who you are. I'm not going to log this in my brain because I've got too much up there anyway. So, hi, yeah, you're so and so, great, awesome. He's like a human being. Honestly.
Yeah.
Because, like, if I meet somebody and my wife's like, oh, my God, this is so-and-so. I'm like, oh, hi, so-and-so. And then the next day she's like, hey, so-and-so's coming over. I'm like, who the fuck is that?
Yeah. I don't know him. You didn't run this by me.
You just met him yesterday.
We just talked about this, like, literally 20 minutes ago.
Going off the rails on a crazy train.
But yeah, I feel like this is one of those cases like you want to get like a picture just to say that you met him.
Oh yeah, I get that. That's kind of the aura, like just the aura's crossing path kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's something that you should, and then that's something that you then show your kids, and then they show their kids. Like you show your grandkids when you're old, and then you tell them that you worked as a roadie for him for years. Like you just, you're like, oh, we toured half of North America together and I played bass.
Yeah, I called him Oz because we were so close.
That's what you do with it.
Yeah, that's the only thing with these two is whenever you get pictures with like famous people, I think the picture is like more impressive than the actual situation around the picture. Like 90% of the time.
Oh, okay. Okay.
When I got that picture after a reboot, it was literally just a picture, but like our picture with Kevin Smith at Podcast Movement, like there's something there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I feel like, that would be like, they see it like, oh my God, what was Ozzy like? You're like, don't know. I literally just got a picture.
I just hurried and I was too scared. So I just hurried and got a picture and then I left.
He said, oh.
Yeah. And then I walked away because I got what I needed.
I like that. Yeah. I feel like that's a good one to get.
Just get in and get out.
For my 5th round pick, Richard, this is another one that I've seen pictures of him with other people at cons, and they always just seem a lot of fun. I think I'd have to do it Firefly inspired.
Okay.
And Richard, it'd be one Nathan Fillion.
That's a good pick.
I feel like he just feels like the kind of guy that would be welcoming. Like when you walk into that little photo booth area, he'd be the kind of guy that would probably ask your name and be a little bit chatty catty with you. And just make you feel like you're not whoring yourself out for this.
Yeah.
Because
I agree. I feel like the crux of the thing is always that you want it to feel like you're not having to pay the money.
Yeah,
even though you're perfectly fine paying the money because you understand that like you're in a line full of people and
But like, I think the way we look at like, we don't want it to feel like a transaction.
Exactly.
You know, it's like when we pay for sex. Like, you don't want it to feel like a transaction. You want it to feel like it's kind of, you know, welcoming and warm and embracing.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to feel like you're, you know, just another notch on the old belt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Nathan Fillion would give that to you. I don't think there's any questions I might ask. Because, you know, what questions would you ask? Like, oh, do you wish there was a season 2 of Firefly? Or do you think Firefly will come back? Or what's the next thing you want to do that's not Firefly? But it would just be kind of a cool little, you know, quick embrace. I would want him if he could.
You know what you should ask him about in the event this ever happens. You should ask him about playing Nathan Drake in Uncharted.
Oh man, was that not the best short
film
ever?
Was it not?
And then they're like, oh my god, people love this. Let's do this. He's like, I'm all for it. They're like, no, we're casting somebody else.
Fuck.
Like, great. But yeah, my 5th round pick would be the captain, Nathan Fillion.
We're already at number 6. I've got number 7. I've got number 7 down. I think I've got number 7 on lock, but number 6 is a little harder. For my number 6, I would. This is a an actor. No, yeah. An actor that I think that I would actually, again, same reason. I'd love to have a conversation with him, not necessarily about movies or anything, just maybe about like, because I would love to just get his take on like issues of the day, I guess, if that makes sense. Because I feel like he strikes me as a very intelligent person, a very thoughtful, inflective person, and I'd really like to know what, you know, Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah. It would be, I think that would be more risk for downside than upside. But I do think if you had, like, that's the one that if you go in and he's just kind of like, next, you're like, okay, I expected that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go in and he's like, oh my gosh, and how are you? My name's Benedict Cumberbatch. What's your name? Like, you would be over the moon.
Yeah, because they'd have that accent. And like, okay, do you not picture him wearing like a casual suit sitting at a table?
I think like just a button up, like sleeves rolled up.
Yeah.
A couple buttons down, like kind of comfortable.
Okay.
Having like you walk in, he's got like a full glass of tea for some reason, not just because he's British, but just because he just does.
Yeah. He just summons it. He just holds out his hand and it just appears.
Yeah.
Like magic.
So, okay, good. So what pose, if you could basically be like, oh, I want you to wear this outfit, like you get to go all out for it.
I don't need him to wear an outfit. But if he wants, he could be, we could do the whole, the whole Eye of Agamotto thing where we're both kind of like like that one's a little hokey, but I'm trying to think of a Sherlock themed one and I can't off the top of my head right now. But yeah, again, like this is another one of those instances where I'm like, look, I don't need the picture. Can I just, like, what do you think about this? What do you think about this issue or this issue or this topic or this topic? Because he strikes me as a very inflective and opinionated person, but I haven't heard a lot of his opinions or inflections. Yeah. And I'd just be curious to know what they are.
He doesn't seem like the kind of guy you'd ask that question to and get kind of like, oh, you're a dumbass.
Yeah.
Like you feel like you get a lot of thoughtful response. Like he feels like he's kind of a smart actor, right? Like if I go, there's a number of actors that you could probably go talk to. And if you ask, like just had a conversation, you'd be like, oh, like, you're just an actor, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. I don't like when I don't get the impression that he's just playing smart people.
Yeah, yeah.
He's not playing a smart person.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
I like that. For my 6th round pick, Richard, I had a tough time Because I feel that if you're going to do this, you've got to have a wrestler on your list. Because whenever you think of like photo opportunities, wrestlers are always like every con and stuff like that. Like I think they were the original like, hey, give me money for a picture. You know, I've got a guy I know who the Iron Sheik in an airport's like, hey, do you want an autographed picture? And the guy's like, yeah, sure. He's like, that'll be $30. And he's like, no, thank you.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I had a tough time picking between two of my favorites, old time favorites. One was the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michael, which was my favorite growing up. And the other was Chris Jericho. And I feel like if you're making me choose right now who I'd want to get my $100 picture with, it would have to be Chris Jericho. So for my 6th round pick,
you picked Jericho over Shawn Michaels?
I would pick Chris Jericho. And here's the reason why. In the last year or so, I've been listening to Chris Jericho's podcast a lot. And he is a very great conversationist. And I feel like this will be the situation like you talked about with Benedict Cumberbatch, is where you show up and it's like, here's $100. I don't want a picture. I just want to talk for 15 minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's funny because what put the little nugget in my head for this specific draft was a podcast he was doing with another wrestler named Darby Allin. And in that conversation, they were talking about like, you know, in today's age, like people don't care about talking. Like they just want the picture. You know, like you run into somebody at a airport or something like that. They just come up and like, hey, can I get your picture? They take the picture and you're like, hey, so, and they, before you can even talk to them, they walk away.
Right.
And like, in my opinion, I'm like, no, if I would forego a picture to have a conversation with you, because to me, that's more awesome. And he's the kind of guy, he's got a band, Fozzy, which is awesome. He's a wrestler. He's got his own podcast. He writes a bunch. He's, you know, got tons of experiences with a bunch of different things. And
he does strike me as as not just, you know, quintessentially you think of wrestlers as kind of not super intelligent, or at least not capable of, you know, like juggling a bunch of different plates.
Yeah. But he's the kind of guy, like he's reinvented himself a ton of times, which takes, you know,
well, I mean, he's done
creation.
wrestling, he's done music, he's done podcasting, he's done acting. Yeah.
And so just to have that opportunity to talk about and really just knowing that what drives that, like he's got a journalism degree, I thought he said, because you listen to his podcast and he asks, they're not like super in-depth questions, but they're good questions that keep conversations going. Like, yeah, he's the kind of friend that like, it's kind of like what we do. Like if you're in a car with him driving for 6 hours, I feel like there's never going to be a dull moment in that drive. He's going to constantly be talking. It's like, okay, well, that conversation seems like it's done. Well, what do you think about flat earth? Or what do you think about Bigfoot? Or what do you think about music or comics or movies? Always having an opinion or thoughts on something. So that's where I would go with my 6th round pick is one Chris Jericho.
Not bad. Oh, Shawn. You know, so we've done how many drafts?
This is our 54.
This is 54. And I mean, like occasionally we steal picks from each other, but I feel like the pick stealing has been kind of like, oh, I wanted this and I just got to it first. I've never really seen somebody pick something for the sole reason of just making sure that you wouldn't be able to pick it.
No, we've never done that yet.
No, we haven't done that yet. Shawn, I'm breaking that mold today. My 7th round pick is somebody that I don't know fairly well. And I don't necessarily like, I mean,
this is interesting because of my 4 remaining things, I don't know if any of them would be on your list.
This is somebody that I would take pictures with. I would try and get as many pictures as I could, and we'd like embrace and hugs, and we would like, you know, do like the metal ear, you know, fingers together. We do like a wish you were here kind of thing.
So this is like, oh, okay, we get in line. It's like, all right, only one more. And you're like, sorry, Shawn, I was in front of you. And you walk in.
Yep. Shawn, my 7th round pick is Jacoby Shaddix.
Nice pick. Not on my list, actually.
Damn it!
And the reason I said not because I wouldn't want a picture with him, it's because kind of the concert VIPs that I've heard about, I don't think could top the moment I had at the concert where him and I got to sing together.
Oh, you mean like nothing compared to like the picture of like the two of us standing together, with an open spot going, oh, if only Shawn was here, then he would be standing right here.
And then you're like, oh, and afterwards, since I was the last one, he did like and
then we go out set. And then we drink. We go out and drink together. He drink tea.
While I drink tea because I'm that kind of person.
Yeah, because I'm nice like that. And then we go and we hang out and we play video games together.
The only thing that would make that like the worst ever is like, hey, listen, can you just record a quick voice memo for my friend Shawn? He's like, yeah, sure. He grabs it. He's like, hey, John, I just want to say that you're awesome and your friend Richard's awesome. I'm inviting him to the tour. John, you're a great guy. Keep being a great John, man. All right,
and
John,
in the middle of the voicemail, he's like, wait a minute, is this the same Shawn that sang at that fucking concert I did in Kansas City? Fuck that guy.
Pretty sure he tried to touch my dick.
Yeah. Hey, if that's you, fuck you.
Lawsuits in the mail, asshole.
Click. That's what I'd spend $100 on for no other reason than to be a hateful person towards you.
Well,
I actually had to look up the name. That's how
deep you had to dig.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if that meeting him turned you into a Papa Roach fan and you and I could tour, or not tour, but basically follow their tour.
Okay.
Totally worth it.
All right. So yeah, I don't have much else to say, but there it is. There's my number 7 pick.
Well, Richard, you're my blood brother, so. For my 7th round money shot pick, this is a tough one. Because I kind of wanted to do like maybe a sports thing because I'm a big White Sox fan. I'm like, would I want to
sure,
but to me, that's like super downside, right? I feel like those are definitely like you're ushered in and walking out.
I can totally get that. Especially if it's like right after a game. Like that dude just wants to go and like,
yeah,
he just wants to go and sit down.
Even the big festivals they do like before the seasons, I've heard those are kind of like pulling teeth to get the players to go to those.
I could see that.
So I've got 2 that'll be my and buts. I have another Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which to me, I think that's downside too. I feel like she wouldn't want to be there. So I'm gonna go Eliza Dushku.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like she just wouldn't want to be there. No, like just basically perception. Because she doesn't do any of that stuff anyway that I know of.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But my 7th round money shot pick, Richard, is probably the writer that really got me hooked into reading. It was like right at the end of high school. A couple movies were coming out that I wanted to read the books for first, and that really got me hooked into more like liking like this was the first like art, or not art. Well, I guess he's an artist too, but the first writer that really had me be like, I want to read as much of their stuff that I can. This is the guy behind a lot of good Twilight Zone episodes. He's the man behind The Incredible Shrinking Man, I Am Legend.
Yeah.
You might know it as Omega Man.
Yeah.
Richard, this is the man who was an inspiration for one of my screenplays, Hunted Beyond Reason.
Mm-hmm.
He's gone now.
He is.
But it is Richard Matheson.
Wow.
So
that's a deep cut. It's a deep cut pick.
Yeah, this was one of the first guys that, when I started getting into reading a little bit more like right before college started. And, I think I Am Legend was about to come out and they're like, oh, this is based on a book. So I'm like, well, I kind of want to check this out. And so I read that, loved it. So then I got into Hunted Beyond Reasons. He did A Stir of Echoes.
That was him.
That's his book. He wrote it in 58. Hell House was another really good book. Camp Pleasant was one that I read that was okay. 7 Steps to Midnight was kind of and that's the cool thing about him too that I really like is his writings cross so many different genres that like he's got like some Western stuff. He's got like the famous I'd have to double check this. I'm pretty sure this is right, but the famous episode of The Thing on the Wing, that was his.
Oh, that Terror at 10,000 feet.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
But he's like got a bunch of short stories, like, and Stephen King said that he was like one of his big inspirations. So he kind of kicked Stephen King off into doing some of his stuff. But gone now, but it was definitely just one of those guys that would be great to kind of, again, I think this would be more of like a quick picture signing a book type thing. Probably not a lot of deep conversation that I know of, but would just been a really cool thing to, you know, it's one of the guys that I've kept the books that I bought, and, you know, it's one of those that if I get time to go through and sit and read a bunch, his full archive would be one I'd want to try to go through. So,
okay.
It is one Richard Matheson.
That's not bad. I mean, there isn't really. Yeah, I'm sure like that, like any conversation with him would be super interesting. You know.
Yeah, he'd be like, if we could do an LOB movie pitch.
Oh yeah.
Guest number one would probably be that guy.
Yeah, 100%.
But so, what are some of your and buts?
I didn't really have that many. I did have Tom Hanks on there, but that was just kind of like other than that, not really too much. Jennifer Lawrence, just because I've seen interviews with her and she seems somewhat genuine. I guess that's what I guess this really tells a lot about me when it comes to celebrity. Is I look for people that I try to glean some sort of genuineness from.
Yeah.
Another one is Cusack. John Cusack.
Oh yeah, I've kind of heard he's a jerk though.
I could see that. I could totally see that. That's why it was definitely towards the bottom.
But no Stan Lee?
No. I mean, like, if we're talking about ones that have moved on, like Tom Petty would definitely be on there. Maybe Prince. But Prince would strike me as kind of with Prince, it would be another like hurry up, get a picture, get out. Kind of thing.
I think that's kind of how the Stan Lee was one that the one time I was in like a con where he was at.
Yeah.
I think that was like $200 though.
I mean, I believe it, but I mean at that point, I mean, by the time you get to, I would say the late 90s, I mean, he was always, you know, like a name, but I would say it wasn't really until like the late 90s that he got that cult like iconic status.
Yeah. Well, when I saw him would have been like the mid-teens, like 2015-ish. So he'd been in all the movies, cameo, and he'd like reached a whole different audience.
Yeah.
For my in-butts, I just have a couple. So like I said, baseball players, Paul Konerko and Frank Thomas of the White Sox. Frank Thomas kind of came up when I was a little bit too young to kind of know what was going on. But he's a Hall of Famer, you know, super awesome ball player. But Paul Konerko was like there from 2000 through when I was really like following baseball like day to day. He's the reason I wore the number 14 when I played baseball. But again, I feel like that would be I would feel more like a kid because I watched him as a kid, that it would be awkward.
Okay.
So that's kind of one of the reasons I would want to hold off on doing that. And then I mentioned Elijah Dushku as the other one just because, you know, Dollhouse.
Yeah.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer, all those kinds of things really were great shows that I like. But again, would probably be kind of a quick like picture and keeping your distance kind of thing.
Makes sense.
But all right, well, let me go through our 54th draft ever, the $100 photo opportunity, and I'll start with Richard. So first round pick, Mark Hamill. Second round pick, Dave Grohl. Is his name David? Does anybody call him David?
I've never seen anyone call him David. Probably his mother.
Yeah. Third round pick, Robert Downey Jr. or Rob Downey Jr. Fourth round pick, Keanu Reeves. Fifth round pick, Ozzy. Sixth round pick, Benedict Cumberbatch. Seventh round money shot pick, Jacoby Shadik of Papa Roach. And then for me, for my first round pick, I had Kevin Smith. Second round pick, Kevin Eastman. Third round pick, Sarah Michelle Gellar. Fourth round pick, Jason Momoa. Fifth round pick, Nathan Fillion. Sixth round pick, Chris Jericho. And seventh round money shot pick, Richard Matheson.
All right.
Well, Richard, as we are closing up this draft episode, do you have any Richard's closing thoughts?
Experience is always worth the money.
I agree. That's one of the things that I've started to come around on. Where before it's like, oh man, it's like they're charging $40 for a picture, and I felt icky about it. But kind of now, it's if it's somebody that's like on this list, or I would put on a list like this. If I had the money, it might be worth it.
Yeah, because why not?
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, let me do a little bit of housekeeping. Visit our website, we're at languageofbromance.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at languageofbro. Email us at bros@languageofbromance.com. You can like us on Facebook. And remember, there's a couple ways you can help support our show. You can always spread the bromance by liking, retweeting, and sharing our show on Reddit or any of the other great social media sites that we mentioned before. And Richard, where can the LOB Army find a little bit of merchandise if they want to support us even further?
They could go to Patreon.
They could go to Patreon. If you want to take a bigger step and help us out, you can join our Patreon account. It's patreon.com/Language of Bromance. As you know, we pay for the show out of pocket. We'll always keep it free, but we also keep it ad-free. And one of the ways that we do that is by the wonderful listeners who support us on Patreon.
We love Patreon. That's why I was pushing Patreon. But the Patreon's good. So if you just want to support us through Patreon, that's amazing. If you want to buy stuff, you can buy stuff, and that's amazing. But always, as always, you could just listen, and that's amazing too. We love you no matter what.
And the one thing that we wanted to chit chat a little bit about, we'll probably keep it kind of quick, but you may have noticed that we've kind of stopped talking about being part of Pod Bros. And you might have seen that kind of out there, but John has said that he doesn't want to see our faces anymore. There's a restraining order.
He did. He said he hates us, and I tried to give him a hug, and he pushed me away. Yeah, I said I'd give him $100 for a photo op, and he said, I don't want your dirty ass money, and he threw it in my face, and then he spit on me.
Yeah. It's weird. No.
And so,
John, Pod Bros was the podcast network that brought us in. I think we were less than 20 episodes in. He's always kind of coined us as one of the original 6 of the Pod Bros network. And, back then we just were all in on podcasting, and John took the step further to create Pod Bros. I've been paying a lot of that out of his own pocket, and unfortunately, he's decided to close the Pod Bros door at the end of the year. But we were just going to go ahead and step away this year.
Yeah, because I was like, no, I'm gonna spit in your face.
No, it's I know he spends decent money on the site and hosting and everything.
He works so hard.
He did. And it's a great network, and John's still going to be around. We just had him on a show not too long ago.
Yeah.
We're going to bring him on for when we review Double or Nothing, and he'll be always on for the Bromance Huddle at the end of the year like he is. At least that's what he said he'd do. But it's sad to see it end. Richard and I have no plans to join a network anytime soon.
Unless there's money involved, in which case
we'll spit on ourselves.
Yeah. I'll rub it anywhere you want me to.
We'll take a picture of ourselves for $100 doing anything. But just want to take this opportunity to thank John for having us on for so long, and wish him the best of luck, and wish everybody else on the network the best of luck as they kind of move on to new endeavors.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is there anything else before I close her out?
No, I'm fantastic.
All right. Well, that's all the Bromance we have for this show. I'm Shawn.
And I'm Richard.
And remember, don't be a why. Be a why. Not.
Perfect.
Richard, I have a new PodCatcher for you.
Okay, first, what is a PodCatcher? Because I don't listen to podcasts.
I know, I look at our downloads. But Richard, a PodCatcher is the app you use to get your favorite podcast. The most common is, of course, Apple Podcasts, but I found one that has really cool features. So podcasting is a silent medium, right? The way you find a new podcast is by what non-listeners tell you to listen to. GoodPods, Richard, is a podcatcher that I found and gives you ways to see what your friends are listening to and help you find new podcasts.
Okay, well, wait. Couldn't I just tell you what I listen to?
Well, from time to time, you may see someone share a podcast on some type of social media, but who pays attention to that? Am I right? We obviously do that all the time and people don't see it. But with GoodPods, Richard, you can see the actual podcast your friends listen to, and then you can right from the same app, listen, subscribe, and then you, Richard, the listener, can share those podcasts.
Okay, but wait. Does this thing do anything else? Does the PodCatcher shine my shoes?
It does not shine shoes, but Richard, you can find brand new podcasts to listen to while you shine your shoes. Because GoodPods, Richard, makes searching for podcasts is one of the best out there. Not only by podcast name, but by episodes and authors. GoodPods UI is really sweet, and they are providing updates all the time to improve it and make it the best podcatcher out there. Plus, on GoodPods, you can rate, share your thoughts on each podcast episode to help others find the podcast they will love.
Okay. All this does sound good. Everything you're telling me sounds good. So, question. I do not understand phones. Where do I get it?
Oh, it's simple, Richard. Just like any of the apps you buy for your phone, you go to the app store of your choice and search GoodPods, GoodPods. You download and rate GoodPods, and obviously subscribe to the Language of Bromance and rate the next episode you listen to.
Yeah, because then you catch pods, and then you would catch our pod, and catch our pod because you don't want to catch anything else.
Yeah, and you can catch our pod on GoodPod.
Because our pod is a good pod.